Let's open our Bibles to Galatians chapter 2. And we're going to be in the 20th verse to introduce a thought this morning. As you're turning there, I want you to think about this. Christ's first words to his first disciples should be our first priority for our whole lives. The first words that Jesus Christ spoke to his first disciples. 2 words. I hope that that's what you remember as you seek to apply the Word of God to your life that you hear today. That when Jesus confronted those who were going to take his message to the entire world, to every creature, that were going to perpetuate Christ's church on the earth, this is what he said. He crystallized their whole lives. He said, I want you to follow me. That concept is the essence of Christianity. And we're going to look this morning at that concept, but more importantly, we're going to look at how on earth we're supposed to do something that big. Well, those 2 words that Jesus spoke to Peter, Andrew, James, and John in Matthew 4, that he repeated, if you remember last week, to Matthew in Luke 5. Those 2 words are what he still calls us to do, to follow him. Now we're going to see in a moment in Galatians 2:20 how it's possible to do that. And then we're going to look, as Paul instructs in the pastoral epistles, specific steps. You know, as humans, we like concepts, but then especially with our full world, we want to know, the how. And Paul gives us that. But the sad part, and this is just to introduce where we've gotten to, Jesus Christ made it so simple. Follow him. But the history of the church, it seems like after a few years, most believers in most churches have gotten inoculated to that concept. Now, you remember what an inoculation is. An inoculation is when a powerful virus is injected and we just get a little irritation, a little redness, some discomfort, and it goes away. And all it was a slight annoyance and no more. Do you remember that? Do you remember all the different inoculations you've gotten over the years? I do. I mean, I remember the polio one and the little pricks and how they made a little sore and all those other things that we get growing up. But I never got any of those dreadful diseases, and it was just a little inconvenience, and then it was over. That's what seems to be going on in the church. People come to Christ, they get inoculated with the truth, but it doesn't cause any more than a short-term change. And they seem to go back so much to what they were. That's not the plan. We have all been inoculated with Christianity, and we're never likely to take it seriously afterward if we're not careful to go back to what Jesus asked. And that's what I want you to do with me. I want you to go back to what he asked. When he said, follow me, I want you to think through this morning with me, as long as you can, what exactly it was he was asking us to do. We think, now that we're saved, we're on Christ's side, and we wish him well. We hope he wins. We're even prepared to do something for him, provided, of course, that Jesus is reasonable, and Jesus doesn't make too many upsetting demands on our cozy comforts and our customary ways. And that's standard issue Christianity in America. It's kind of like, I'll go along with this until it just gets a little bit too much for me, and then, that's maybe for the professionals or something. But that's not the passion of zeal or the burning enthusiasm and the eagerness of self-sacrifice of the real faith that changes character and changes the world. You see, the early believers didn't get inoculated. They got the disease. And the disease was Christ, who captivated them to follow him. And everything in their life became subservient to that call to follow him. You see what I mean by all of us getting inoculated? That's not really the burning zeal of 99%, seemingly, of Christ's church today. We're supposed to live life by following Christ. And Paul, as he wrote the New Testament epistles, those were his little letters that were just enlargements and explanations of Christ's call for all to follow him. And the epistles are just how you do it. But the call stayed the same. But in those epistles, Paul expanded and illustrated the life of following Christ. And before us this morning, in Galatians 2:20, Paul explained that as believers, following Christ means we do not live our own lives any longer. We live the life of another, or more accurately, as we're going to see, another lives his life through us. Now, even saying that sounds kind of strange. But salvation means another, with a capital A, lives his life through us. That's what Christianity is all about. Those words are so powerful and so beautiful. Paul tells us, and the heartbeat of Galatians 2:20 is the essence of following Christ. And that is that it is essential to live out our lives as believers. But until we grasp Galatians 2:20 and this concept of following Christ as the key to the mystery of Christian living, we'll never graduate from preschool. We'll just kind of stay in believers' preschool our whole life till we understand that the mystery is following Christ is Christ living his life. Not me living his life. Christ living his life in me. Galatians 2:20. And let's listen to these words, not just with our ears, but with our hearts. Paul said, I have been crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me.